All right, so this is our last section in Chapter 3, and we're going to analyze arguments with truth tables. We're also going to analyze them in one other way at the very end of this lesson, but we're going to start with the truth table approach to start with. And so the first thing we're going to be doing is basically trying to do the same thing we did in Section 3.5, but we're doing it with truth tables instead of Euler diagrams, okay? So same thing, different method. And there's different steps for how to do this. The first step that you're going to do when you're working, when we're working with these, step 1 is to assign a letter to represent each component statement in the argument. So this is kind of something we've already done. Prior to this, you've been given letters and told what those statements each are, right? And then you've turned like words into some other things. Now you're going to be picking the letter that means that statement. Okay, so that's all it's talking about. Step 2 is you're going to express the premise and conclusion symbolically. So what that means is you're going to take those letters that you picked to represent she is smart and he is silly, or whatever, in part A, and you're going to write those letters in with ands and arrows and tildes and those kinds of components as a symbolic statement, which you have done before. Step 3 is their long step. All right, so on step 3, sorry, I have to write a lot on this one, so I'm going to give myself a better writing tool. Step 3, you're going to form a symbolic statement of the entire argument by writing the conjunction. Do you remember what the word conjunction means? It means and. Conjunction means and. The conjunction of all the premise, of all premises, as the antecedent of a conditional statement and the conclusion as the consequence. This is the math window of what we're going to do. Okay. So we're going to have, okay, so in last section, all the ones that are on the board here up here, right? You had statement, statement, therefore statement. Remember that? Yep. So what you're going to do is you're going to write statement, statement, and therefore statement. You're going to write all of them in symbols. Okay? That's what you're going to do on steps 1 and 2. Step 3, the one that I just described, you're going to take this statement and put an and between them. And you're going to put them together with parentheses right here. And you're going to make them the part that comes before an arrow, the premise of the conditional, part that comes before the arrow. And then the therefore statement that comes underneath will be the consequent, the part that comes after the arrow. So that's visually what you're going to do. Step 4 is you're going to actually do a truth table for this now. So you're going to complete the truth table for the conditional statement formed. And I mentioned before we started today, the next part here. Remember we talked about tautologies? We sort of gave a name to something without any real reason for giving it a name. Here's the deal. If it is a tautology, then it's valid. Likewise, I don't have enough space to write it, but you can. Not a tautology, and then it is invalid. Okay? That's what we're going to be looking for. We're looking for tautologies to decide if we have a valid statement. You guys ready? All right, so we're starting with one that's sort of already halfway done for us because it's already in symbols, right? I don't even have any language that I'm looking at in regard to this one. All I'm actually looking at is the symbol. So in essence, parts 1 and 2 are done. Make sense? Okay. So part 3 is to form this compound statement. So the way that we form this compound statement is we take the first line, tilde P, arrow Q, that's a tilde, and we join it with an and statement with line 2, which is just plain old P. All of that becomes the antecedent, that is the part before the arrow in an if-then statement. And the therefore part, the part underneath, is the conclusion or the consequent of the if-then statement. That mess right there with the parentheses and the tildes and the arrows and the brackets and all that stuff is what we're going to make our truth table from. Okay? You have to form that statement before you can start, because then you need to know how you're going to make it the truth statement. Okay, how are you going to do the table if you don't have the statement? Okay, so we're going to do a table now. So somebody tell me, how does my table start? P. And then Q. So let me do both of those before I write them in. I have P and I have Q. Now what? I have a tilde P because that's the first thing inside of the innermost parentheses and whatnot, tilde P. And I do have a tilde Q, and you could put it here if you want, but I don't need it anytime soon, right? So I tend to not use lines up until I need them. So I probably wouldn't do the tilde Q next. If you did, it wouldn't hurt anything, but I probably wouldn't. I'd probably just leave it for now. I tend to go with the inside of the parentheses next, okay? Because I've got all the components that are inside that first actual parentheses present on my truth table. I have a tilde P, and I have a Q, so I can do tilde P arrow Q. What's next? Yeah, everything inside that bracket, I have to do the and P with it, yeah? So I could actually do this if you want, and we've talked about doing this before. Call this number 1, right? And so this is number 1. And I could do, to save myself on the writing of all the pieces out, I could do 1 and P here. Then what? I could name that one 2. Okay, now what? Okay, so I need a tilde Q before I can do the 2 implies it, because I haven't written mine yet. You may have already written yours, Adam, I don't know. But if you haven't written it, you need it now. And I haven't written it, so I need a tilde Q. But now that I have my tilde Q, just like Adam said, I can do 2, because 2 is now all of this stuff implies Q, tilde Q, sorry. Sorry, that red is horrid. I need to be using yellow. Let me fix that. Not on this slide, but I'll fix it for the future. Okay. What goes under P? TTFF. What goes under Q? TF. TF. Some of you still don't know that. I'm not sure why. We do it every time. How about tilde P? Okay, tilde P goes back to P and it does the opposite, which means it's going to go FFTT. And after that's the first actual one that I have to do any work on. Agreed? You shouldn't have to do any thinking, at least very minimal, in those first 3 lines. But the third line, fourth column rather, that I've called number 1 in blue, I have to do some work. I have to start with P, tilde P, and I've got to go backwards and look at Q. Right? So, I start with a false statement, and I end up with a true statement. Is that true or false? That is true. True. I start with a false statement, and I end up with a false statement. True. That is also true. I do a true statement, and I end up with a true statement. True. And finally, on the last one, I have a true statement, and it ends with a false statement, and that's false. The only time an implication is false is when T arrow F. Okay? All right, now I need to take this column that I just created. Okay, let's make it a different color. The column that I created, number 1, and the column back here, P. There they are, highlighted in green. And I need to join them with and, right? This and in the middle. So I've got T, and that's true. The second one, I've got T and T, true. The third one, I've got false on both lines of P, which means the result is false for an and statement. So the second ones are both false, 3 and 4 false. Tilde Q, again, I should not have to do much thinking on this, right? All I do is negate column Q, which means what will tilde Q look like? False, true, false, true. But then I need to take column 2, what I've called column 2, and I need to do an arrow to column tilde Q. So I'm going to start with T. T implies F is false. T implies T is true. False implies false is true. And false implies true is true. Is it a tautology? No. Is it valid? No. So that is the answer. The answer here, I'll just circle it up here, is that this one's invalid.
So the only time it's valid is when it's a tautology.
You got it. Okay, ready for another one? This one's really nice, sorta. It's nice because it's already set up for you, but it's really long, isn't it? And I don't have enough space to make my column headers actually look like they're supposed to, so I'm going to definitely be using the column headers with the 1s and the 2s and the things like that, okay? What's more is what else is not so maybe nice about this one? There's an R, PQR, which means this is going to be a long truth table this way too, right? It's going to go down how many rows? 8. Okay, good. Well, depending on your perspective. Okay, what are the first 3 rows going to be called? PQR. What's going to come next? The first parentheses. Now, in as much as you may not like the fact that there's a messy thing at the front here, the thing that you don't have in this one is what? There's no tildes, so that's kind of nice. And we at least don't have those. All right, so I have P arrow Q. That's my first one. Then what? Q arrow R. Oops. Let me try something, hang on. Okay, that should work. There. I'll move it down a little bit. Okay. Now what? Sorry, totally distracted you. I need to do 1 and 2. So eventually I am going to need a P arrow R Tyler, but I don't want them yet. The first thing I need to do is to join these with the and. Okay? So I'm going to give them each a different name so that I don't have to write as much. I'm going to call this one number 1. I'm going to call this one, the second one, number 2. Okay? So I'm going to do then what? 1 and 2. Okay, and after I do 1 and 2, then what? Now I need a P arrow R, which I would like to call 3. Would that be okay with you guys? Just for fun?
Well, I call 1 and 2, 3.
Why did I put 3?
Yeah.
I already got carried away. Let's see, how about I put a R here? I was going to call this 3. Whoops. Is that okay? Then what would my last column be? How about 1 and 2, which you could call 4 or something else if you want to. Oh, is that what you were telling me?
Yeah, I was saying
Mark,
I called 1 and 2.
we could do that. That sounds nice. All right, let's do that just for fun. Why not? Let's call the one that I just created 4, just for space saving. I think that's a good plan. Let's call this 3 back here. Sure, why not? As long as I can follow what you're calling things, that's good anyway. So, all right. So then I'm going to have 3 arrow 4. Is that what you had in mind, Mark?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, it saves me some space too. Look, I fit it all in on the screen. I got lots of pretty colors. It doesn't get much better. Do you remember how to do truth tables with 3 of them? How will P look? 4 trues. 4 falses. Then what? Doubles. Oh, I like the way of saying that. Yes, true, true, false, false. We're doing doubles. And then the last one is they alternate. Yeah, true, falses alternate. Okay, looking good? It is looking good. Now we've got to do P arrow Q. So let's start with P. And we're going to go, oops, we'll do yellow. From P to, oops, I went too far. P to Q. So if the statement starts out true, like this one, true, true, what does that implication end up being? True, and that's actually the first 2 lines, right? They are both true, true for P and Q. The second 2 both say true, false. That is a false statement on an implication. And then the last 4 of them all start out false. And when you start an implication out with false, then it is true. So the first one's done. Second one, I think that's the one I used. We're going to go from Q to R, right? So again, I start out true, so let's just we'll go through them one at a time quickly. True, true is true. True, false is false. False, true is true. False, false is true. True, true is true. True, false is false, true is false, false is true. So it's actually the same 4 repeated. True, false, true, 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 false, true, true. Now I need to take these 2 columns and I need to do an and statement. So, and statements are true when Both are true. The first one starts out true, true, which gives me true. Second one's true, false. Third one's false, true. Fourth one's false, true. Fifth one's true, true. Sixth one's true, false. And the last two are both true, true. So they're true, right? Now I need P arrow R. That I did in blue. Okay. So P arrow, no, I did in green. Let me get my right color. I did P arrow R, so we're doing this one right here in green. So from the first column to the third column there. True, true is true, false is true, true is true, true, false is, and the last four start out false, so they're all true. And then between 3 and 4, I'm going to do an implication, yeah? So I'm going to go from here to here. And this is another arrow issue, yeah? I'm going like this. True, true. That's true. False, false. False, true. False, false. False, true, true. False, true. True, true. True, true. And so I think Jeff's already telling me, or Adam, somebody over there, it's what? It's valid. Why is it valid? Because it's a tautology. They're all true at the end, right? All right. We're going to put it all together. And we need 2 slides to do it because we have to start back at the beginning of those steps. Step 1, 2, 3, 4. We haven't done steps 1 and 2 yet. What was step 1? Get some symbols, right? We need some symbols. So, step 1 with my symbols. What in the world are my symbols going to be? Or what are my statements? There are actually 3 individual statements here. I'll give you that. What's one of them? I were a woman. I am a woman. I don't care what your context of your language is. I were a woman. I am a woman. And let's give that a letter. What letter do you want to use?
P.
P. So this is P. We'll use the next letter Q. What do you want Q to be? What's another statement here? You were, careful. Ooh, it's different, right? Not just any man, but mine. You were my man. There is only one more statement actually here. And you have to decide how you want to state it, and I'm going to go with the way that you just described. So you can either say, I'd never stop loving you, or I stopped loving you. I'd never stop loving you. Awesome. Okay. But now we need to take the statements that were given and write them in symbols. The first statement says, if I were a woman and you were my man, then I'd never stop loving you. There's a lot going on in that sentence right there. All 3 statements, in fact, aren't they? So, what's it going to look like? P and Q, in parentheses, implies R. I were a woman and you were my man. All of that means, then I'd never stop loving you. Then what? I stopped loving you, which means tilde R. Therefore, what? Tilde P, I am not your woman. Or, so that's a V. Tilde Q, you are not my man. The last part at the end, the tilde Q. The last statement right up here says, therefore I am not your woman. Yes, you are always going to set it up in 2 lines, and then the therefore line, and then your statement below. Okay, so the blue statement is this one down here.
Where's tilde R? That's the, oh.
Tilde
Okay,
R
I see
is, got it?
Yeah.
Here. Okay, so then, let's do one of these. What do we have to do next? What do I have to do next?
You connect the first two lines
And how do I connect them?
with an and.
With an and. So I'm going to make an and statement out of both of those. So I'm going to do that with P and Q, arrow R. All of that joins together with an and statement with tilde R. Agreed? Then what?
Arrow, tilde P, or Q.
Okay, then all of this, which I'm running out of different kinds of braces, but I think this one more will do. All of this is the antecedent for tilde P and tilde Q.
Should be
Okay.
or tilde Q.
Oh, I wrote the wrong thing. You're right. It is or. Thank you. If you were writing in pen, you shouldn't have been. Okay, so this right here is how I'm going to create my truth table, right? How many statements? How many rows? 8. And we're going to have a lot of columns, aren't we? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Hang on just a sec.